the 7900 XTX versus the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Welcome back to my channel. It's Mr. MCP76 here, and right now we're going to test the 7900 XTX against Witcher 3. Now, Witcher 3 is an old game, came out 10 years ago, back in 2015, but it actually received a update back in 2022 that added things like updated graphics, but also ray tracing and upscaling support. So we're going to go ahead and test this game now because it's actually become quite the hard game to run for GPUs. Hopefully the 7900 XTX can hold up against it, and we'll see if it can hit 60 FPS. So the system specs we're running on, this is we're running at a 60 Hertz 4K monitor. The system is running an Intel i7-13700KF, and of course the GPU is an AMD Sapphire Pulse RX 7900 XTX. We've got 64 gigs of memory installed, and we're using Windows 11 here. All right, so again, we'll see how this game performs, but let's take a quick look at the settings first. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to test this game at native resolution. As you can see, it's got 4K here. The monitor is a 4K monitor, but we've gone ahead and removed the VSync lock on it, and we've limited the FPS to 120. This is just because without it in the menus, the game can easily spike up to 2000 FPS, which does sometimes cause a crash for me in this game. So I've just limited it to 120. We'll see if we can even get close to that, but honestly, I'd be happy with just 60 FPS. All right, for graphics, again, this time we're going to run as native 4K. And we'll see how the GPU can hold up against this game. As far as ray tracing, we currently have ray tracing turned off. We are using TAAU for anti-aliasing, so no upscaler in play. Dynamic resolution scaling is off. And again, everything is basically set to ultra, not the ultra, the ray tracing ultra, but just the ultra. Okay, so we are in game here. And let's go ahead and start the FPS counter. All right, so there we said. Okay, so right now we are in the high 50s. Again, this is without ray tracing and without any upscaler in place, so just native 4K here. And the game looks really good. It's getting close to 60 FPS. So again, this is with ultra settings maxed out, and we're using native resolution and no ray tracing. So without all those other fluff, we're running pretty well here. Somebody's code. The graphics really does look good. I remember playing this when it first came out, and I can't remember exactly what it looks like, but I would say that, I mean, this looks fantastic. Obviously, if you're running, you know, a lower end system perhaps, or something a little bit lower than the 7900 XTX, maybe just the 7900 or 7800, you want to lower those settings from ultra. You know, that's an option there. But being that this is AMD's flagship card, I wanted to make sure we could test this out, fully maxed out. And maxed out, the GPU is, you know, sitting at 99% utilization, and the CPU is about 20% utilized here. It doesn't look like any of the cores are getting to 50% used here, so a fairly easy system to run, fairly easy game to run at this setting. All right, and the texture, the clothing, the detail is great. But let's go ahead now and really push it, and we're going to go ahead and give the game, add the ray tracing to this game. Okay, we're back in the settings. We're going to go ahead and select TAAU again. We'll just keep that in place as it is, but we'll go ahead and enable ray tracing now. Alright, so ray tracing is now enabled. We've got quality for global illumination, ray trace reflections on, trace shadows on, and traced ambient occlusion is on. And again, this is still TAAU with no upscaling methods used, so running 4K native. Alright, we're back in the game now. So that definitely took a hit to the FPS. Let's go ahead and reset that. So don't catch Set yourself on fire, Geralt. All right, so now you've got ray tracing on, and we are in the mid-20s, 28 FPS average right now. So we lost about 30 FPS there with ray tracing enabled at 4K. Again, ultra settings, ray tracing on, and no upscaling, so just native resolution. I gotta say, ray tracing adds a lot of depth to this game. I was so happy to see it when they added it in, even though at the time the GPU I had, which was a 3070 Ti, couldn't really run it anywhere near with ray tracing with no upscaling. The best I was getting at the 3070 was about 20 FPS or lower and a lot of stuttering. Away from the fire, you can see we've got pretty much 30 FPS there, or getting near it. The more ray tracing that it has to do, the tougher it's going to be. Yeah, the water over here is definitely better now with ray tracing on. I mean, this game was already beautiful, but having ray tracing enabled just really brought the game world to life here, I think. We'll set it to day in just a moment and see how that impacts our FPS. Sorry about that. Alright, so we're back at the campfire here. Let's go ahead and wait. Okay, we are back in the game now. We've meditated until 7 a.m. game time to see what the reflections and the system looks like running those reflections here with sunlight. The gameplay feels really smooth at 30 FPS, and let's go ahead and reset that. All right, so at 30 FPS right now, and the 1% and 0.1% lows are very close to it, just off by 2 or 3 FPS, so the game movement feels extremely smooth. Mouse movement is smooth. I'm not seeing any stutters there. The frame time graph could be probably a little smoother, but honestly, I'm not even feeling that at all. It feels great with moving the mouse. Very fluid, very responsive. So this is a slow-paced game, unless you're in a really big fight, but this is mostly a slow-paced game, and the higher FPS numbers really aren't needed in here. They'd be nice, but they're not necessary. So far right now, I'd say the 7900 XTX with native native resolution and ray tracing on, it's holding up really well. But let's go ahead and see if we can get a higher FPS now. All right, we're back in the settings here. Again, we're going to keep ray tracing on. We're set to ultra, but we're going to go ahead and flip this to FSR4. So FSR4 is what is supported in this game. We're going to go ahead. Let's see, does it give us? Yeah, we just go ahead and go with quality here. So FSR4 quality, and let's see what that gets us to. Okay, back in the game here, and now we're at FSR quality, and we're seeing FPS in the mid-50s or so, so almost 60 FPS looking at this particular scene. Mouse movement feels really smooth. Again, this is ray tracing set to ultra with FSR4 set to quality. And FPS, who is cold? FPS is really good. Great, it's going to be a rainy day, so I guess we're not going to get any sun. So yeah, I mean, at this point, ray tracing and just quality enabled, we're already getting a really good FPS here. This would be more than playable, and I'm not really showing any. No, it doesn't apparently. It doesn't seem like we're having any troubles running this at native 4K resolution. Well, it's no longer native 4K resolution, but we're not having any trouble running it with FSR4 Ultra or FSR4 quality enabled. Let's go back to the water. No, it don't. It's either night or raining, or both. All right, back at the water's edge just to see how reflections might change as we go up in the upscaling tree. All right, so let's go back into the menu and make a change. Okay, we're back in the menu here now, so we're going to keep it at FSR2, and we're going to go to balanced. All right, we are back in the game now here at FSR2 with balanced upscaling enabled. Game still looks great. The water is a little less detailed. Those reflections are a little bit less detailed. They seem a little bit more smeared perhaps, but maybe that's just due to the weather and the way it's reflecting now. But we're now right at 60 FPS. Kind of fluctuating there, going down a little bit lower as we get into denser areas. We're going to try to go into a populated area and see what we can get. Yeah, we're definitely, our FPS here is basically bouncing around 60 FPS. We're at 62 now, 62 right now. Sorry. All right. So back at the campfire here, and again our FPS is about 57 average, 49 1% lows, 47.1% lows. So those are really close together. And the frame time graph is very smooth. The mouse movement is buttery smooth here. Game still looks fantastic. I'm not noticing any shimmering or anything like that. That fine detail in the cloth looks okay. Geralt's costume looks all right. The CPU utilization is about 25% here with the 13700 KF, so it's not really breathing hard. We're looking at, it looks like the highest CPU core is hitting about 40%, 42% or so. So the game really isn't having too much of the system isn't really having too much of a problem running this game. GPU is again at 99% here, and we're just right at about 60 FPS, 58 right now average, looking at the campfire with ray tracing on. All right, so let's go ahead and get back in the settings. We'll make our next change. All right, we are back in the settings now. We're going to go from balanced here to performance. All right, we're now running FSR2 at performance, and the game is giving us about 65 FPS here. So we've reached the 60 FPS mark here, guys. Let's take a look at the water's edge. Definitely a lot less detail than those reflections in the water. I'm not seeing the shimmering in the water like I was before. Graphically, I don't see any issues, at least right now. We would expect a little bit of softening here with performance as we're now running at 1080p upscaling to 4K. But the nice thing about 4K monitors or playing on a 4K monitor is that the system does have a lot of pixels to work with. So even upscaling from 1080p, the game has plenty of pixels to get us a good quality image with FSR. Back at the fireside. So CPU utilization is about 30% now. As the upscaling goes up, CPU utilization also goes up along with it, as a lot of that load is now pushed over onto the CPU side. We're seeing many of our cores hitting 40% now. The GPU is still at 99% utilization. Just so, as you can also see up there, I've got the memory, the GPU memory pointed out, and we're using, actively we're using 9 gigs of system memory running this game. So if you have a graphics card that has 8 gigs of VRAM, yeah, it's probably going to experience some stuttering because of that. The game itself was asking for 14 gigs or has allocated 14 gigs into memory, but it's only actively utilizing 9 gigs. All right, so this is pretty good. So now we're almost at 70 FPS here. So, and the game looks great so far. Just running around a little bit. I mean, mouse movement obviously feels very smooth. That frame time graph down there is really nice and smooth here. And we're not seeing any obvious signs of shimmering or sizzle in some of those finer edges. Even the grass seems really stable.
Let it rain. Wash the blood from the fields.
That water splashing doesn't look very realistic, but I'm not sure if that's the upscaling or if that's just the
Oh, this'll cool the
2015
stuffy heat.
graphics at play there. Again, this is a 10-year-old game, so the fact that it's even pushing a 7900 XTX this hard is pretty impressive for this game. And like I said, it received a really massive update back in 2022 there. Let's try and get to an area with some more finer details, see if we can see any issues with fine details. And no, I mean, we're pretty good. If you're playing this game, you probably would be very happy at this. Yeah, we're hitting 69 FPS here now. The average is 67, 57 for 1% lows, and 55 for 0.1% lows. Those are really close, and that basically means you're going to experience really smooth gaming here. We're not experiencing any stuttering, hitching,
Let it rain.
um,
Wash the blood from the fields.
any kind of a negative performance. So enabling FSR2 is really good here. All right, but let's go ahead and see what we can get with FSR4 now.
Oh, this'll
Okay, we are back in the graphics settings. Now, there is a trick here. So we're going to be using OptiScaler to inject FSR4 into the game. But as OptiScaler's wiki page shows, this game does not support FSR4 by using FSR2 to inject the code. So we actually have to switch this from FSR2 to DLSS. So it's going to be using DLSS, the default native support for DLSS in this game. OptiScaler is going to use that to actually inject FSR4 into the game. So we'll see how that operates. We are going to go ahead and keep DLSS quality or DLSS at quality. Now, as you saw, we selected DLSS quality, and the game did not kick back with an error message saying that an NVIDIA graphics card was not detected. You would get that message without OptiScaler installed, but with it installed, it actually is able to get us to that setting.
cool the stuffy heat.
So if we press insert now, and the other thing is the mouse doesn't detach from the game, so we have to use the keyboard to move around. Okay, so now we've got FSR 4.0.2 injected into the game. Okay, so now we are back in the game, and now we are running DLSS. We're injecting FSR4 to the game via DLSS here. And I'd say right now at quality, DLSS quality, it's okay. So I would say the graphics are better. These boards seem sharper on my end here from what I'm seeing. We're getting that, we've got that glistening back in the water here for the reflections. Reflections are much more detailed. You can see the individual tree leaves and so forth in the reflections, whereas before with FSR2 set to, I believe, balanced and even performance, that was kind of just a smudge now. But we're now getting those details back. The details are back, but I'm going to say this. This is kind of a, I don't know if it's coming through on the video for you guys, but right now it's jittery for me. This is not smooth mouse movement with quality here. Geralt's hair looks fantastic. The Upscaler is doing a really good job with fine detail here. Again, this is at quality though. Let's go find maybe a campfire. At least it's becoming a sunny day, so we'll be able to see any graphical issues maybe more clearly here now. We're currently averaging 47 FPS using FSR4 on the 7900 XTX. Did they put out all the campfire? Yeah, it just, the game itself, even when Geralt is running here, it just doesn't feel, the game just doesn't feel like it's moving. It's almost like a micro stutter in the game. That could just be the implementation with OptiScaler here that's causing this problem, but right now I would say I think I will just stick with FSR2 unless we can get something better with the more aggressive upscaling methods. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll get back into the settings here and push up the scaling. All right, we're back in the game now, and we've set DLSS quality here to balanced. And we'll see how that works out. All right, so we're now, let's go ahead and start that FPS counter here. So we're now, yeah, right at 60. The detail is still there. The hair detail is still there, but it is becoming a little smoother. I'd say a little bit smoother, like so the individual hair is maybe not being drawn as well, but still looks fantastic. And the water's edge, you can still see it still looks great. We are getting high 50s here, 57 average right now, 51 for 1% and 54.1% lows. That little micro stutter that I was seeing with quality is either completely gone or just not noticeable anymore. Mouse movement is really good. Let's go ahead and take a look around and see what we see graphically. Does balanced here give us something different as far as image stability? Yeah, still got a little bit of micro stutter there. To be honest, I'm not completely surprised. I mean, this game is pretty old, and I don't think it was ever intended to support something like FSR4. It doesn't even have FSR3s, right? So it was running at FSR2. So this is whatever it's using right now. It's a pretty old implementation of DLSS as well, I'm sure, and that's just not going to give us the best performance. But hey, we're going to give it a test and see how it goes. So again, yep, right now it looks like we're getting about 55 average. Depending on where you're at, you might actually hit 60 with balanced here. I haven't seen any graphical issues. No shimmering, no sizzle, no flickering of fine detail or anything like that. CPU utilization is at 90, or GPU utilization is at 99%. CPU is just about 25% here. So it's really, this one really isn't a hard upscaler for the system to run. So let's go ahead and dial it up a notch and see what we get. Again, we're trying to hit 60 FPS here in the game to call it a win. So let's go ahead and push it from balanced up to performance. So now the game is going to render at 1080p internally and upscale it to 4K. Okay, we're back in the game now. We're in this, okay, low 60s here. 63 right now. Again, this is FSR4 via DLSS inputs, and we're using performance.
I think those plums are wreaking havoc on my gut.
So yeah, right now the game looks great. Yeah, we're really holding pretty well there at 64 average for the frame rate. GPU utilization is down a bit at 98%. Again, it's probably not a hard game for this GPU to render at 1080. CPU utilization is ticked up just a bit, about 27-28% utilization, but nothing crazy. Some of the cores though are hitting 40%. Let's get some more densely vegetative areas. Maybe that'll hit our FPS. Yeah, we're running about 60 FPS. So right now this would be about 60 FPS, give or take a few here and there, up and down. But otherwise it's running really well. The game still looks good and feels extremely smooth. So again, this is FSR4. We're running at performance mode. So this is not bad, but it did take quite a bit of finagling to get us to this level. So while the game looks great, it can't get quite there under native. We were seeing about 30 FPS, and with upscaling, we're able to hit 60, but we did need to go all the way to performance, both with FSR2 and FSR4. Let's go over here. We got anything that could be rendered that might be hard. We got a fire going. Interesting that it's not burning the whole thing down, but that's fine. Let's go and check out the water real quick again here with performance and see if we see any difference. Okay, we're back at the river's edge here. And graphically, it still looks good. The image itself is a little unstable. Those reflections in the water. I'm sure you can see it, the shimmering there. And the reflections of the trees themselves are shimmering quite a bit there. Around the same area, you're seeing that white shimmer. So there's a little bit of, I think that's probably due to the upscaling. Let's go ahead and back off the upscaler and see if that actually changes that. Okay, we've gone ahead and backed off the settings again to quality here for FSR4, and that is, it cleaned it up a little bit. Still a little bit of shimmering there on the white cap areas of the water reflections, but the trees, the reflection of the trees themselves have become more significantly stable under FSR4 quality here. Again, using DLSS inputs to actually pass through the FSR4 via OptiScaler, but it looks a lot smoother. We're back in the settings again, and we're going to go ahead just to see if it cleans up that water any further. We'll just go ahead and go back down to TAAU, so no upscaling here. All right, back in the game, and without any upscaling, that shimmering on the water surface there is completely gone. You can see some very good detail there in the reflection of the trees. Again, this is using TAAU for anti-aliasing with native 4K and no upscaling whatsoever. So again, the upscalers do take quite a the image quality does take quite a beating when we're using upscaling, especially at that performant level of performance here. Quality gave us a much better reflection, but it still was pretty rough. And if you're willing to deal with the 30 FPS that we're getting right now, this would probably be the best way to run it. Let's go and give it a try here. We're going to go back to FSR2 and see what this looks like really quick. Okay, back in the settings, we're going to go ahead and switch to FSR2. We're going to back that all the way down to quality here. Okay, back in the game now with quality, FSR2 quality. So we're getting really close to 60 FPS. Slight instability there to the water surface there, where you're getting the white reflections there, and the trees themselves, while they're still really sharp, they are not as crisp and detailed as they were with TAAU enabled instead. So again, we do see a bit of graphical loss there with it, and some of that shimmering coming back into the water surface here. And we'll test with one last thing. We'll go ahead and test with FSR4. Okay, so we've turned DLSS back on with quality settings. And via OptiScaler, we can see that FSR2 is currently being, or FSR4 is currently being sent in through DLSS. And with quality, yeah, that shimmer is much more significant there with FSR4 through DLSS. The tree reflection seems a little bit sharper, but still not as stable as it was with TAAU, and definitely we're getting that shimmer back in the water. This is again through DLSS FSR4 quality via OptiScaler. I would, in my opinion, I'd probably run this with TAAU. Okay, so let's go ahead and have our conclusion here. So what do we think? Well, definitely the 7900 XTX does not win this matchup with Witcher 3 when it comes to native 4K. At native 4K with no upscaling, the graphics card could only give us about 30 FPS in best case scenarios, a little bit over 30 FPS average. So it wasn't really doing it. I mean, I guess 30 FPS is better than 20, but still we're not hitting that magic number of 60 to give us that ultra smoothness in the gameplay. Now, when it comes to the upscaling methods, we did have to go pretty aggressive with upscaling to get us at or above 60 FPS consistently. Both with FSR2 and FSR4, we had to go all the way to performance mode to get us to that point. So that was disappointing. The quality of the images themselves also start to take a bit of a hit as well. Even starting at something as simple as quality, it was already taking a hint, and we could already see that like the water's edge or the water's surface where the sun was reflecting off of it was giving us a little bit of shimmer and sizzling there. So that was unfortunate. So with FSR2 and FSR4 via OptiScaler, we were able to get to 60 at performance. So that would be basically, I would say that's a draw. That would be my opinion because again, the game doesn't overall look really bad. Overall, it looks actually really good. And the FPS was again in the 60s, and mouse movement was really smooth and very playable. So the verdict, native. Unfortunately, it did not take that one, but the 7900 XTX with upscaling set to performance was able to get us a win here. So this, what I would say, is a tie. All right, well, thanks for watching my channel. Let me know if you guys have any opinions on this, any criticisms or suggestions, and feel free to put them down below in the comments, and like and subscribe, and hope to see you with the next video. Until then, this is Mr. MCP76 signing out. See you guys later.